I will tell you right now that if you crack open any actor's head, it's always like, I just finished this. No one will ever hire me. It's like your thought, no matter what you're doing.
Oh, Carla, what a character actor and what a beacon of talent. She got me with her performance of Alba in the Mick, and then I realized I'd seen her lots of places and lots of things. From Nacho Libre to The Purge, The Last Man Standing to Desperate Housewives. She has a unique approach to creating a character and to performance, in large part because she is not formally trained. And for me, this gives her acting an unexpected spontaneity in life, and her characters are indelible, which is something I love to watch. I hope you enjoy. This is The Other Pod. How are you besides the voice?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in New York right now. I've been
Yeah.
here since February, and it's been a really amazing, crazy experience. So,
That's so cool. That's so cool. So you're working on Real Women Have Curves right now,
yes, yes.
and you're doing what, a 6 day week?
Eight. No, well, 8 shows a week. Yes, 6 days a week. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And is this your first musical?
No, not my first musical, but my Broadway debut.
Got it. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
That is really, really exciting. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So it's going to be a lot of different kinds of questions. I'll start at the beginning and sort of work through. If you don't like anything or if a question doesn't make sense, just let me know. And then at the end, there's like a brief lightning round, which is much more like just fun. The bulk
Okay.
of the questions, though, are going to be more, I hope, interesting and substantive. So do you mind if I dive in?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So you were born in Southern California.
Yeah.
I did try to find some information about your family and I could not find a lot. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about your childhood,
Oh,
what your parents did, sort of where you came from.
yeah. So I'm actually half Costa Rican and half Mexican. My dad came here from Costa Rica. He's part of a big family, and his one of his older sisters, her name's Rosa, Tia Rosa. She was already living here in Culver City, and so he was sent out to live with her, and then my mom actually came here. I believe she came as employment, like she was a nanny in Louisiana. And so she once she finished that, she kind of migrated to Los Angeles, and then they met at a party, and so that's how that became that. But we I grew up in Simi Valley. I am the youngest of four. My dad worked his entire career at this place called Validine Engineering, and he worked in the stock room. I think when he was 19 or 20, and then by the time he retired, he was like the purchasing manager of this company, and it was in I don't want to say Woodland Hills, I guess Woodland Hills area. It's actually still around, but I don't think it's like computer parts and things like that. So, and then my mom actually, I know she had a couple of jobs, but the only one that really stands out to me because I have a photo of it is she used to press records.
Mm.
And so that's cool. And there's a photo of her pressing a record. And so that was really cool. And yeah, we they bought a house in 1980, and we all grew up there.
And so when you were the youngest, what do your older siblings do? Were you guys very involved with each other? Was there like sort of a large age gap? How did that work?
So there is a large age gap. They were 6, 7, and 8 years. They are 6, 7, and 8 years older than me. So basically, until I hit my 20s, I didn't exist. It's kind of like, yeah. But I mean, we had a lot of fun growing up as a family. We did laugh and have a lot of fun. But when I was 7, my mom had a stroke. And yeah, and it was debilitating. She was only 46. And so she, she obviously stayed home. My father took care of all of us. And we took turns, taking care of her and stuff like that. So it's crazy because something that traumatic to happen, um, it's like all I know. Like I don't know any other kind of childhood, and we still laughed a lot. So that helps. But yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with, especially as a very young kid.
Yeah.
And so then how did you go from there, from that life into local theater to being an actor? And was that something that was sort of in the environment in any way, or how did you find that?
Yeah. It's crazy because my sisters are all very talented in different areas. Like one sister is a makeup artist, one does graphic design, and she can also design clothes and really good at it. My third sister, who's actually a nurse now, she's the oldest. She would paint and stuff and do things like that. So it was weird that we were artistic because there wasn't really that in our sphere. But for me, I always sang. I don't even know how that came about. I just did. And my sister said that there's like a memory of me annoying them because I guess we went to Greece. I don't even remember. And I was singing. I was like 3 years old or so. I don't even know. And they were like, oh, you just kept singing over and over. And I was like, oh, okay. But my dad loves movies. He loves old movies, and he'd always call me in the room and go, "Who's that? Who's that?" And of course, I didn't know. And he'd be like, "That's Gene Kelly," and that's, whatever. And then I became fascinated with Lucille Ball, and to a point where, like, I watched so many I Love Lucy episodes. My dad's like, "Oh my God, haven't you seen this one already?" And I was like, "Yeah, but that's, it's funny." And so I think I liked that. And I think I always had a very vivid imagination. So, and my parents actually also both liked it. They just liked it. I think because they met in their late 20, like 30, like that's when they got married. They always kind of instilled like go your own way, girls. Like I didn't have the traditional, you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to follow, like it was do whatever you want. So they loved that aspect of it. So they fostered it.
And was there any performative nature to anything that you did to your mom once she had her unfortunate accident? Like, did you have to sort of do things to lighten the mood for her as well, or was that not part of the dynamic?
Um, Not necessarily. I mean, even before she had that happen, we would, because my parents were both like they're both very funny people. My mom, we'd crank call. She would call my dad's office, and it's so dumb because I was young enough at the time to think um that he wouldn't know it was us. It's like, but we'd call and we'd sing songs into the phone. And I remember one time we sang "You Light Up My Life," and apparently he had pressed a button and it was playing into the whole place. So we've always had that kind of joy. And so afterwards, um no, it wasn't so much about keeping her happy. We just all kept each other happy.
And so, okay, so talk to me. How did you go from local theater to where you are now? And did you take classes? Did you do instruction, or did you just sort of throw yourself out there and see what happens?
When I got to middle school and high school, especially high school, I started joining the drama, the drama league, the drama troupe, doing shows. When I was 18, there was this local theater by my house called the Moore Park Melodrama and Vaudeville Company, and we would do these kind of like not Aladdin, but Aladdin and his magical, like you get away with, and we'd have these song and dance numbers after the show that was for like an hour. And so it was really cool. And so I did that. And that was technically, even though I wasn't union, they paid us $10 a show, which at 18, I was rich, getting, $80 a week or whatever it was I got. But then I feel like there's people I credit along the way that kind of unknowingly guided me. So I was doing Moore Park for a while. And then I had a friend of mine um, who said to me, you need to branch out because no one's going to come to Ventura. No one's coming here. At least they're like, go to Glendale, go to Glendale and go in this. And so I did. And because of that, I happened to get an agent. And so then I was doing like little stuff, but nothing too big deal. Then another friend of mine, he's one of my best friends. His name's Reggie DeLeon. He calls me and he goes, there is this open call for the Mark Taper Forum, and they need 5 Latina girls. And he was reading it off. He goes, this is you, Carla, like, this is you. So again, non-union, I went down to this union theater house and I performed and they hired me. And that ended up being the start of my professional theater union career. But it opened so many doors because I got to play the Kennedy Center, and then I got to do the Actors Gang in Los Angeles, and people saw me there. I started taking meetings at like uh, Fox at the time when they were doing Mad TV, and so it was just like it was opening more and more. And then from there, I I met a woman who was amazing, and her name is Diane Rodriguez. She passed away, but she was part of the Mark Taper Forum, and she's a brilliant director. Marched with Cesar Chavez, like all this beautiful stuff, and she introduced me to theater down in Orange County, South Coast Repertory, and again, it was there where I met a bigger agent, and then I started working more, and then it kind of took off from there. And I was just so theater actually, and it's funny that I'm back because it's almost a full circle thing. Theater is what started me in film and TV, and now I'm back at theater.
So to go to film and TV, it sounds like you got your first big break around 2002, and then you got bigger breaks in around 2010 with like Desperate Housewives, and then it seems like you really started racking up appearances on a lot of different major programs.
Well,
Go ahead.
oh, well, what I was gonna say was, yeah, for the most part, I think where it kind of changed because I knew I didn't need a day job. Like I was working steadily was when I did Nacho Libre, which was 2005. And it was in 2005, I got 3 jobs in 1 month. I got Nacho Libre, this guest star on The Shield, and another movie called oh my gosh, why am I Lady in the Water with M. Night Shyamalan. So, but that all happened with it, and that was when it kind of was like, okay, this is really going. And then yes, after 2010, that was when I started working more steadily, even more. Yeah.
And did it feel like, oh, I've hit this thing, I've hit this thing, I've hit this thing, I'm an actor? Or was it like peaks and troughs where it was like, oh God, it's so hard. Will anyone hire me again? Oh God, it's so hard. Will anyone hire me again? And then you get, these things that allow you to sort of catapult yourself forward. Like, what did it feel like in that time?
Yes, I went through like what happened was with Nacho Libre, and doing all that stuff, I was working, but then it kind of lulled a little. And then I got really, like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna work, blah, 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 blah. And then I got a pilot, and I had never gotten a pilot before. And unfortunately, even though, and I'm honest about what I liked and didn't like, pilot wise. I've done a couple since now and know. But that first one, I really, really wish it had gone, and it wasn't ready at the time. It was really funny, actually. And it brought me back with Hector Jimenez, who was in Nacho Libre and played Esqueleto. And it also had Wilmer Valderrama. It was directed by, oh goodness, Mark. I'm trying to remember. He did a lot of Raising Hope. No, My Name is Earl and things like that. So anyway, so I lost my train of thought.
Don't worry.
Sorry, what
So
was
we
that?
were talking about sort of the peaks and troughs of
Yes.
that 10 years.
So it was like when I got that pilot and then it didn't get picked up. I will never get another pilot. This was it. This was my only chance. And then I got another one right away. Unfortunately, that one didn't go. But again, you're always going to think that. And I try to stay out of that. But I will say that the one thing I always, always put in my head, because I would see other people go through it, was when Nacho Libre came out and people were like, oh, this is it. Now you're going to, I'm like, no, it's my job that I'm doing that I'm so excited, but I will not let this define me as like, this is the peak, because then you have nowhere to go. Like you can't, yeah, you have to, like with Hollywood, it's like, it's the next best thing. So you're always forgotten after the last thing. You got to keep doing it. So
And is most of what you were doing that time comedy, or were there other things? Because it seems like you're doing these like The Good Doctor and The Shield and these other things that are like very serious roles, but then you're in these other very funny roles. Like how, and this is part of what really interests me about you, is you seem to go between so many different ways of being and so many different kinds of characters. How do you approach that? How do you look at it? How do you understand it? And I think in a way you're very lucky, because most people kind of just get to do one thing. But
yeah,
that doesn't seem to have been, your career thus far.
I have been fortunate with that. And I will say that I would always, I was going to go back to something you had asked me about whether I trained, and I never did. I always just watched other actors, and I always had this innate, even when I was younger, to really just get into it. It's not even method. It was just like, I always told myself, just believe it. Believe what you're saying in that moment. So when I would see a script, whether it was comedic or dramatic, I would try to find the logic in it. I would try to find like, all of that. And so it it just felt like doing it that way and just really, it's like play acting. And I always used to, I still do in a way, find it crazy that I get paid to do, what children do all the time, which is this rich imagination and believing what you're doing. So that's kind of what guides me. Yeah, never, no training. Although I will say to anybody that there is no one way. If you feel like training has got you there, it's got you there. If you feel like life has got you there. And I also wonder uh, if what happened with my family and all of that trauma and all of that kind of cracked open that dramatic side. I know it cracked open the comedic because my father's just funny and my mom's just funny. But like, I wonder if that's also, so I go there because I can, because I felt it.
I mean, again, that's what I wonder about, is because to be able to move through all those things. And what I also noticed in a lot of your stuff when I was watching is, you always seem to be watching the other people in the scene, which is
Yeah.
not always the case. And a
Mhm.
lot of times, like I think part of the way that you sort of steal the scene, and I'm not sure if you mean to, but because you're reacting to someone else and what you do is not necessarily what I would expect. And also it's not like you're just watching, you're reacting.
Yeah.
That it's oftentimes I'm watching you and not the person who's talking, because I want to see what you do with it. And I think that that's, a wonderful thing, which again, I think is not par for the course.
I don't know if that is more because in theater, the reacting reactor, whatever reaction. But I will say that it's the thing I find fascinating when I watch movies too. I It should be about listening to the person, and that's the response you're going to feel. Whatever you feel is what they're telling you. And so that always is ingrained in me no matter what, and it makes um parts that one person could think, oh, that's not a big part, but it's like what you do with it. It's how you are observing the other person. And I feel like, yeah, I don't mean to steal seed or whatever, but I just think that listening to them is also honoring them, because my focus is solely on them, and then whatever reaction comes out of me.
And I was wondering too, because you do so many like shows and things that are parts of like had the television landscape. You're stepping into a world where like everyone knows everyone. It's the same crew every time. These people have shot for 10, 20 years together. It's like it's an organism.
Yeah.
How do you go into that system? How do you find your place in that? And also, there are sometimes difficult egos and you're
Yeah.
stepping into a lot of stuff that you don't know what the hell's going on there. How do you manage that? How do you bring your 100% to that? And how do you sort of navigate the challenges? And then if you have a story, you don't have to say where it was, but
Yeah.
I'd love to hear any kind of stories about how you sort of got through that, especially, being who you are.
Okay. Well, um, yeah, starting out, it was a lot harder because you are coming into someone else's house, and I feel like there's a level of respect I would have that I still do, that like when you come to somebody else's set, like you listen, you don't just blurt out anything or try to take up this space. Like just you listen, you learn. I'm very focused. Like I'm always off book. It works for me. I do it in auditions as well. And there's pros and cons to it for people, but that is the way I work best, is if I'm having an audition, I'm off book so that I can pay attention. And I do the same thing when I come to set or when I go to the theater. And sometimes people would make fun of me or what, not in a bad way, but actually I will tell you this was kind of funny. And it was on the Mick, was I didn't realize how much I hadn't messed up because it took like, I think a year before I went up on a line during a take, to the point where Scott, who plays Jimmy, I didn't know he was there. He comes running out like into the set and he's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I was here. You missed that line." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize I did that." But I come prepared and I kind of pay more attention to that. And then, I need it to be organic if I am friends with people, if I am so that's so if it doesn't happen, then I just do my job and go home. But if it does, then it's great and I start making, friends. And when it comes to the directors, I've been fortunate that um, I've had same like creators and directors. I didn't even realize, like, I did this little thing on My Name is Earl, but because I did that, I got to go to Raising Hope and I got to go to Better Off Ted and even Santa Clarita Diet, like all because they were all interchangeable. And like they were all these people that I guess talked about me, was like, "Oh, I want you here now. I want you here now." And I was really fortunate for that. But I really, really just try for myself because it's also my sanity. I tend to have an insecurity that I take up too much space, like that I how do I explain it? Like um there's a quote about dimming your light and things like that. And I did that for a long time where I kind of like just, but I've found more and more as I've gotten older and a little more confident. I just tell myself, go in there, do the work. And if you meet people that are great, you meet people that are great and you'll gel with them. And if you don't, then you worked and you can move on. But yeah.
And just to explain, in case the listener doesn't know, what
Sorry,
does
yeah.
it mean when you say you worked off book? Could you explain that?
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. Yes. When you have an audition, you are given these pages called sides, and it's a part of the scene. And sometimes, which happened with Desperate Housewives, at the time, I hadn't watched Desperate Housewives, so I wasn't up on what was going on. But a friend of mine was like this fanatic. So I called her and I said, "Hey, I got these sides. Do you happen to know who these people are? Like what's," and she goes, "No, I never heard of them." And that was the first time I ever came across sides or pages where they wrote it differently. The characters don't exist, but technically it was about Eva Longoria and her husband, but I just didn't know. So, so you get these auditions pieces, and you can hold them in the audition. They don't fault you for that. But like I said, coming from me, from a place of theater where I've always been taught to be off book, I guess that just got ingrained in my head so I can learn. And I have a pretty fast memory. Like my friends are like, I don't understand how you did that. And I'm like, I don't either. Because the second the scenes are over, they're gone. Yeah. Yeah.
And in addition to that, do you ever go off script, which means you're not following the words in front of you, but you're sort of ad-libbing or making up stuff as you go?
Yes, a lot of the shows are very much to script, but the Mick was not. The Mick was we did 2 takes, 3 takes on with the script, and then it was what they call dealer's choice. You could throw stuff out and see what sticks, and I'm very proud that there's a lot of moments that I was able to put in there.
The Mick, I think there was I don't know how you did that show because everyone on that show is at like a 10, right? All the characters are insane.
Yes.
Everyone is nuts. Everyone says a lot of different things, and a lot of it's such a burn.
Yeah.
And I thought what was so interesting is the degree to which you were able to stand out on that show. And you started as the housemaid, and your character is, I don't know if small is the right word, but definitely is not asserting herself,
No,
right? But
no.
even when you don't assert yourself, you still are so present in the scene, even if it's to react or to sort of engage with someone. And I thought you and Caitlin Olsen had a very sort of special on-screen dynamic. And I was so curious how a lot of that came about because some of the way you interacted, I was like, I don't think this was scripted. I think they're just saying shit to each other. And so I was curious if you could talk about that process in particular, because you two are, for better or for worse, like the only two real adults in the room.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just completely nuts.
Yeah.
And so I was curious how that happened, and also if the evolution of your characters, if that was in some way also due to, I would imagine, you guys developing your own relationship over time, because it was a 2 year, not 2 years of filming, but it
Yeah.
had 2 seasons of being made.
Yeah. No, well, I will say, I mean, I shaped her over time, but their idea, because it was the reason why I even auditioned, because to look at it on paper, you see a maid. And I'm like, no, I'm done. But of course, I read the sides and was like, this is absolutely hysterical. And what I didn't know at the time, and they ended up obviously putting it in the show, was the scene that was for my audition was actually, I don't know if it was part of a Always Sunny that like they had written but didn't use, or it was something else. But it ended up going in the Mick, and it's the episode where she drugs me. It's like where you see the first release, and I remember I remember reading that going, what is this? This is insane. But loving it. Loving that it was so unexpected, loving that she lets loose, like this character lets loose. And they told me like you're not obviously going to be typical. Like she starts out as the maid, but the whole point is that Caitlin's sister in the show, they're so straight laced, and I'm basically just a servant to them, whereas Caitlin's character didn't have those rules. So you weren't a servant, you were just a friend. But also, in friendships, there's a dynamic when one person bullies the other and the other just kind of goes along with it. And I think Alba, the character of Alba, loved the freedom that she didn't mind. And then she, of course, she goes off the rails in her own way. So that's what I mean. But like when she grows, it's like she starts to bully a little back, and then that's where it's really crazy. But yeah, that dynamic between me and her, it was really fun. And we did a lot of, even from the very start, from the pilot, because the I'm trying to think, but I believe that the episode where I get drugged is like the second episode, but that was the pilot we shot. And then we shot another piece or something like that. But there was this moment at a nightclub where we're high and we're doing all these weird things, and the director's just telling us, just like, go with whatever the other's doing, so we are. And I didn't see this happen until it was happening, but Caitlin grabbed this light up mouthpiece from somebody that was one of the and put it in her mouth, and then was dancing at me. You see this on the show, and she's dancing at me, and then she puts it in my mouth, and I literally had a 0.1 second to go, yeah, go with this, and I did, and it was funny, I mean, it was also pre-COVID, so no one cared, but the worst you could do is get sick. So yeah, that was crazy times, but fun.
And so, and also in Alba, so much of what Alba does, and I'm curious about it too, because so much of Alba's physicality is like sort of facial, and then where she positions herself in a scene.
Yeah.
How much of that was stuff that you planned and thought through, and how much was it just like, I mean, I'm sure you read the script. How did you keep it fresh? Or is it because people are going off script that you're able to actually genuinely react? Like, what was your sort of approach to that series day by day?
I mean, we always blocked it. We always did it. Uh, I think it's just reaction. It literally is so important to listen to the other person, because that's when you can get the best moments. If you just pretend, at the start of every take, you haven't heard this before, and I know it could be hard, then your mind can come up with a different reaction, different times. But also, yeah, when they would say, go for it, now you really have to listen, because you don't know what's coming out of their mouth, and so you're just going to go with whatever. There's this whole moment. Oh gosh, it's the episode where she's dating a guy with a boat, and I'm trying to remember, but we were we were talking about her, and I started going off script because we had our whatever, and I said something about her neck being like a turkey or something like that, and then I said it's a very majestic animal. I didn't know where to go with that, so I just said that, and then we cut, and everybody was laughing, and they ended up using that, and I just thought it was so funny. But it was because I can't remember what she started, but I just kept going, and that's what makes it interesting, when you really listen and just don't know what's going to come out of your mouth next. Some of the craziest stuff comes out.
No, but it's magical, and it feels like that show was an interesting opportunity to just sort of do. And it feels that way. And I'm so glad it was not completely scripted, because it doesn't feel like it is.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was very collaborative, and that's why I loved it so much, because I told you I'd go onto these sets and I would just kind of be like, okay, when you're ready for me, I'm ready. And this was more like, no, what do you have as well? Like, what can do? And that's kind of scary, because improv is scary, and um I I can do it, but I don't think I can do it until I do it. If that makes sense.
And did the Mick kick it open any other doors, or were the doors already open?
No, I they were open, but it's like there was more recognition now. Now it was like people of all ages and stuff were coming up to me, and it was really cool to like feel. I mean, people did during Nacho Libre, but it wasn't quite the same. This was like everybody really loved it. And one of my proudest, like, I feel so much pride for this, that got to show my parents the pilot, like obviously before it aired. And I remember my dad, because my dad likes what I do, but like any parent, he's like, well, I'm going to watch it because you're in it. It's not necessarily like he loves it. But I remember him watching this. He was laughing, because this is like our humor all the way. And it finishes, and he's like, this is the one. This is the one. And I was like, he's never said that. And he was so proud. And he used to call me every day, like every morning after the episode, and tell me what the episode was about. Like, I'd didn't know what it was. Because he's like, I like when this happened, and I like when Caitlin did this. And then, there was this part where you, and I just thought, that's amazing. Like,
That's
I
great.
love, yeah,
That's really, I mean, it's nice. And because again, it's, being a character actor, especially, like, it's a slog. And
yeah,
it's great to be working, but it's also, you know, you get to be a working actor, but you go from thing to thing to thing to thing. And I think it's probably really nice to have that level of visibility. And my hope is that it opens up other options as well, but also that it, you know, what do I say? That it makes that it gives you a lot of different opportunities, but that visibility opportunity without having to be a celebrity, I think is nice.
yeah, I like that.
The
Yeah,
celebrity part I think sucks, but I think the other pieces of some recognition are great.
yeah. I mean, it's hard because um, just knowing how much I appreciate other actors and their talents, I never want somebody who comes up to me to feel bad because they said something, because we all know there's other celebrities or people that will, just whatever, what blow. But I always try to be very respectful because they took the time to talk to me about it, and I understand that feeling. So I mean, but obviously there's a point, but for the most part I always try to give that time because I know how much it means to me to compliment someone.
Yeah. No, I hear that. And so like walk me through like very specifically, you get a role, you're going to go do it. How do you figure out how you're going to play it? What is your process?
Oh, well, I've usually got the base of it. Well, if it's what's okay, I usually have the base of it when I have an audition because I've already gone through the material. I've kind of already made the choice. And if they've hired me, you stick with that choice. You can elaborate on it, but you never want to change it so dramatically. Otherwise, they're going to be like, what did we just do? So you have that base grounding. Now, what terrifies me, and not to the extreme it used to, but I started getting offered parts. And once I started getting offered, that's when I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like everything's always like, I don't know if I can do this. So I just have to read through the script. I have to like just see, okay, well, maybe this character would do this or say it this way or whatever. And I just keep going over it and then just, hope I made the right choice. And when I get to set, it pretty much is. And, but it's more about when it's something offered as opposed to an audition because you should always keep the audition the same.
And so let's go then to Real Women Have Curves.
Sure.
This is the songs are set, the music is set, everything's set. How do you keep that interesting, fresh? How do you keep yourself engaged in something that is so structured? Like how do you keep that real for you?
Um, this okay. So the show was a play, then it was a movie, now it's a musical. I was never. I didn't like the portrayal of my character. I never wanted it to be angry or which can tend to happen. It could tend to get over the top. It could tend to get angry or preachy or this. And I know this character because I've known about the show for a long time. But I always knew the perspective I had was different. So when I went into it, um, I keep her. She's funny, but she's very grounded. Because that's the one thing in comedy that I think is such a subtlety is like you don't want to give away every joke. Sometimes it's not reacting to a joke that's actually funny. Like somebody says something weird and you're just, staring at them. But so I knew what I wanted to do. And um, this is actually really beautiful because now my stamp is on this. I'm the original Broadway cast, member. Anybody who comes in after me will have to do it exactly like I did it. But I found all these nuances to her and all these little cracks and things. And it is a lot of listening, actually. And it's a lot of reaction. And I love that. And I do feel like the audience is so with us. But I also credit that the other women that I've been with, we did this last year at ART in Boston. And so we have a little bit of a melding together. You know, we understand each other. So it is like you're talking to sisters or friends. And so over time, you guys develop your own language, kind of. And that's what we're doing on stage. And I think people feel it because people are always like, it feels like my aunt. It feels like my cousin. It feels like, it's just very close to everyone's heart. And I think it's because we put that language in.
Interesting. And so you were into, and when you say put the language in, do you mean
Yeah.
literally you also helped with the script, or you mean more in terms of performance language?
Both. They were collaborative. We didn't do too much, but yeah, there were things that Lisa Loomer, who is one of the writers, because there's Josefina Lopez who wrote it. It's about her life, and then Lisa Loomer and Nell Benjamin came in and they worked on the book, and so sometimes I would be looking through the script and I would be like, this is a very stilted way to say this. Can I say it this way? Or we have this kind of intention on it. And that's really good. And that's what I feel was lacking from this character a lot. Like it was the language was not as conversational for a musical. As a play, it made sense, but like as a musical, there just needed to be a different kind of tone to it. And it's like a friend of mine always says, they tell me I hear the musical beats of comedy, or I hear the beats of, and I guess there's like a little bit of a truth to that. There is a kind of thing that goes, and so that's what they were collaborating with us, and they let us have a little input, just to shape it, just to make it a little bit more whatever our character felt.
That's awesome. I mean, and it's nice to have something that's collaborative and it's not treated like it's, a fucking doctrine. You're able to say like,
Yes.
okay, like this works, this doesn't work, and it makes a better piece.
Yeah.
And one other thing I wanted to talk to you about too is like your focus and delivery with tone, timing, and inflection. Like I think that you seem to think, it seems like you think about it, but doesn't feel studied how you're going to say something in terms of the cadence you say it with, the inflection that you give it, and the sort of tone that you say it in. And I think that's part of what makes a lot of your lines unexpected and often funny. And I'm curious, like, do you sit in a mirror and just like say the line till you find the right way, or does it just come out and you're like, all right, I'm gonna roll with that?
It just comes out. I never practice anything in that way because I feel like at least for me, if I did that in front of a mirror, it would lose its um, genuine quality. It would lose its like surprise. I think more. I know I'm reading it quietly to myself, but like when I sit around at a table read, whatever comes out, and I either go, I'm rolling with that, or if it came out of my mouth and I didn't like it, then I will later on go, okay, I'm going to say it again and like figure out how I want to say it. But 9 times out of 10, it's just what I truly believe the character would say or do at that moment. And that's what comes out of my mouth when I say the inflection, the tone, everything.
And some actors will write like pages about who their character is and did like is that part of your process, or you more just sort of are like inside yourself know who someone is?
I I don't do pages. I don't That's what I mean by like it's what works for that actor. I've never been method in that way. There are moments where if something is sad, I will do that thing where you can kind of conjure up a sad memory. And but I try to meld it with what's happening.
Right.
It's it's a lot easier if you could just really believe that that person is sick, hurt, angry, upset, or joking, laughing. If you just find the honesty, that's what it is. So um for me, it's just finding it's being a big child. That's literally what it is. Just imagination, and that's what draws it.
You've talked about your mom often, at least in the things that I've read, and you've played many, many different kinds of women.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because you try to play them all as unique characters and you try to sort of get in on the sort of daily life or the sort of humanity of them, right? Like you're not trying to play someone who's so out there that you don't believe that they're real, but then there are pieces of them that are completely nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
And the eccentricities are also part of the charm. And I'm curious, when you inhabit these roles, are you pulling pieces of people or pieces of your own experience? Are you living a fantasy of a kind of woman that you'd like to be in those moments? How do you get into character, and is it all a part of you or is it all a part of a wish?
Um, some characters are easier to draw on from real life. Like yeah, there are pieces of like the sassiness of Alba, or even Pancha in this show is my mom. Like
Okay.
she'll say very smart assy things. Um, but then there's other things that, like you said, it's like when they're really crazy. Like one of the things that really stands out in my mind is I did this movie called The Purge, and I was up on a rooftop, like spouting all this religious craziness and shooting a gun. And I remember vividly driving to the audition, and at that time my manager then going, I can't do this. I don't know this is a crazy person. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he's like, you'll get it. You'll find it, whatever, whatever. And so I'm panicking because I don't want to look stupid. And um and I get there, and I just keep reading the text, like just looking at it, not reading it to like, but just, what am I missing? What am I missing? And then I said to myself, because the character, it's all like, if you were to read it verbatim from the page, she's just screaming. She's screaming and blah, 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 because she's crazy.
Yeah.
And I could actually hear people,
Wait a minute.
doing it, whatever. And it wasn't, I didn't know if it was bad or good because I can't see them. But I thought in my head in an instant, what's scarier than loud,
Yeah.
but really crazy and sincere?
Yeah.
And so I went into the audition and I did it. And I did it more like she's saying it out loud, but she's almost praying to herself. It's really funky and just quiet. And then I don't get loud until the end, and I didn't even get loud that long. And I remember the director just being like, I've never seen that before. He's like,
In the audition, he said that?
he was like, yeah, he goes, that is amazing. He goes, I wouldn't have thought to go that way. And then I ended up doing it. So yeah, it's a very crazy thing. So I just really try to believe in the character. And I heard once somebody say something like, you can't judge the character, you just got to play it. And because if you're her, you don't know what you're doing right or wrong. You're just doing it. So that's what I really try to remember.
Interesting. No, and again, I appreciate it. And I love it's fun hearing how you approached all these different people,
Yeah.
because they are very different performances.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. So comedians can sometimes be very, very dark people, as I'm sure you know. And you seem to have a real zest for life. Like the part of Alba I felt was you, and some of the characters don't come across as being really, the sort of
Yeah.
authentic you, was that she's so playful and fun. And that felt like that was probably a part of you. But also she's got like this boundless energy, which you also seem to have. And I'm curious, how, if this is accurate, how do you maintain it? And especially, how do you maintain it in Hollywood? Because Hollywood is hard.
I stay away. No, I'm just kidding. I honestly do though. I have a small circle of friends, like really good friends, and I mostly spend my time with them not talking about Hollywood and just living my life. And I just I guess I seem like I have boundless energy. I don't feel like I do. I feel just crazy and old. But I uh I don't know. I don't know. I think it's very much my DNA from my dad and my mom. If you met my dad, he's like so gregarious and loud, and that's me. um, but I can't even say. I don't go. I guess I don't like that Hollywood scene, so I don't try to climb into it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't try to pursue parties and pursue things that people sometimes think are, I don't like that. I like the work. I love the work. And it's why when I started in theater, I thought I was going to be on Broadway and I thought I was going to be doing that my whole life because I loved working. And then I found film and TV to be amazing as well. But I just don't need all of the other stuff that comes with it.
Understood. Understood. Um, how has acting changed for you as you've gotten older?
It's gotten better
How?
because, well, because I'm a character actor, and when you're younger, they don't know what to do with you. And plus the doors weren't as open then. Now there's so much more possibility, and there's so much acceptance that people can look, different ways or be different things, and race doesn't so much play a part in some of the stuff. And so as I'm getting, and I'm more confident in my ability, because I feel like I was always doing this, but me doing Nacho Libre and my mindset then, I was like terrified. Whereas if I had done Nacho Libre now, I would have been so happy and excited and like, going everywhere. But I felt like I was so worried about everything. I'm not as worried because there's so much other stuff that's gone on too,
Yeah.
in this world.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is such a small part. Everything shrinks when the bigger things come into play, you
Talk
know?
to me about that. What are the bigger things that are top of mind for you? And as an actor, as someone who does have some level of visibility and also who interacts with people who have a lot of visibility, how do you navigate that and what are you able to do with it?
Yeah. Um, well, there's a lot from, I mean, obviously, like the pandemic, that did a lot for us physically, emotionally, all of that. Um, I explained that my mom had a stroke when I was 7, but she is now dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia. And in 2021, my father had a stroke. And so it's been hard because as a family, like me and my sisters, we're rallying around him. We're taking care of my mom. Um, of course, everything that's going on in America, and all these things with immigration, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so happy in my heart to be here doing this show, because even though the show takes place in 1987, it's as if it's happening today.
Right.
It's like everything, and it's so relevant and important. And so um I try to I try to fight back with art,
Yeah.
and I think that with my parents and what they're going through, what my family, um, the support that I get from them, because there can be a lot of guilt leaving family behind.
Yeah.
And instead, um, everything is met with like this is what you're meant to do. Like, go do this. Um, and you'll come back and you'll help again. Yeah, because I was a big part of that before I left. And so there's a lot of guilt of leaving stuff behind.
Yeah.
So, but I just have their support, and that's what's like so major. That's what guides me too.
I'm so sorry about your dad. I wasn't aware of that. And I think you say that really well, that, it's difficult because being an actor, I know you've been very lucky because you've gotten role after role, but to your earlier point, you never know if and when that next role is going to come up, and being able to do a Broadway show, like all these things are, I don't know if people really know how hard it is to get to the top of each of these mountains, right? It's really, really hard, and you never know when the next opportunity will come. And I
Yeah.
think for artists, especially, like it's overwhelming. And it sounds like you've always had a good piece of support behind you with your family. And I wonder if that's also part of the reason you've been able to take so many risks in your performances, and you've been able to be present, and you've been able to deliver something unexpected, is because there wasn't that sort of isolation and the same kind of fear of failure that I think
Yeah.
a lot of people experience. What's like, if you don't make this, you got nothing anyways.
Yeah.
And I think, your characters, whatever they are, always have a lot of heart. And that's why I was so curious about your family from the beginning, because I felt like there must have been something there.
Yeah. We're very close and protective of, we'll always rally for each other. And it's really important. It's important to me and my sisters. Um, and it's odd because I guess the reason why I want to persevere and keep striving is because even before my mother started having dementia, that um, this, like, all they wanted for me was Broadway. That's all they wanted. And I'm here, and it gets me that um, my mom doesn't know.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
um, and my dad can't travel.
Yeah.
So it's that's
It's
hard.
bittersweet. It's bittersweet.
Very bittersweet. And especially because the show, um, I told you part of it's about immigration, but part of it's about mother, daughter, family responsibilities.
Yeah.
Do you stay or do you go?
Yeah.
And every night there's this beautiful song at the end. I mean, amazing song. And I'm standing next to my friend who's one of the leads, and she's got her back to me, and she's wearing this caramel colored wig, and it looks like my mother in her heyday. And every night I cry because it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that they would give anything to be here. So I keep doing it because of how proud they've always been about it.
Yeah. It's sad, but it's beautiful, Carla. It's sad, but it really is. It's a lovely, and you are taking something lovely out of it rather than the other parts.
Yeah.
And that's lovely.
Thank you.
Um, One odd question.
Sure.
I know initially when you started working,
Uh,
there were a lot of sort of how do I say this? Pro forma Latin roles.
oh
And,
yeah.
and I'm curious, given how your career has evolved, are you offered less of those roles? If so, what are you offered more of now? And how is your Latinness contextualized, or is it not a thing anymore? Like, how is that gone?
Yeah, like um I'm not washed away in the sense that if I were to get a character, they can't be recognized as Latino. I think um it's more like, do you remember that movie Dust to Dawn? I don't know if with George Clooney. Okay, Harvey Keitel has a son, and he's Asian. There is no reference made to it. There is no like you're this or that, nothing. And I remember when I first saw that movie thinking, because this is back when yeah, everything had to be like Latino, blah, 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 but they didn't. And I remember thinking, God, that's amazing. No one called attention. And so these days, the roles I get are kind of like that. Like,
Okay.
you're Latino. but you're doing this role. And like I did a horror movie, and I was just this person who was a stage manager, you know, like of this play or whatever, of this thing. And it's like a comedy horror movie. And again, that's I just worked at a summer camp. Like that wasn't it wasn't who I and I did a movie with Mario Lopez, and I just played a sister, but it wasn't just about being Latino. So I had to look like a sister, and that's
Okay.
So yeah, nowadays, and I also have representation that really wants me to be out of the box. Like
Yes.
they really choose for me. They always give me the option, but they're like, but this is this and this is,
Yeah.
So a lot these days have been just completely, this is the character, this is the
That's
person we
awesome.
need.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's great. I'm glad to hear it because with everything going on, I sometimes get afraid that it's going to slide back in that direction.
I don't think it can. I don't
Okay.
think not, at least it will never for me, because honestly, even had I not had this train of thought, I don't know, doing Alba, seeing where that character went,
Yeah.
there's no way I would do a normal, like, yes, Mrs., let's go to, whatever. I would never. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that I feel like that character showed so much of what you could do. And it's interesting hearing where that was in your career and then sort of where things have gone. And I'm
Yeah.
curious too, do you audition anymore or are you just offered things?
No, it's 50-50. It's 50-50. It's I've been very fortunate to have been offered stuff coming out of 2020,
Right.
because it was really rough, obviously, for everybody. And there was no film or TV going on. Um, so yeah, no, I was very fortunate, but right now it's 50-50. I could either have someone call tomorrow and ask me to do something, or I've auditioned for some other stuff recently that was really good that, yeah.
What was your last great audition for you and why was it great?
Um, I'm like, am I allowed to talk about it? I don't even know. I
You can
don't.
be vague about what it was for.
Okay. It was for a streaming service. and and they have a very, very popular show, but it's a new show, and I love the show. And I always love when um I like the script so much that even if I don't get cast, like I want to see it, like I'm excited. So there's this character that I auditioned for, that again, it was one of I think I like these characters the best, the ones where you think they're one thing and they are completely the opposite. And this is kind of a suspense. I don't even know if it could be called a horror, but it's definitely a comedy, but it's got some suspense and a little bit of scary. Um but I loved it because this character was one way, very um technically fake to the audience, and you think, oh, okay, that's just a cookie cutter generic thing. And then they turn out to be something else completely different. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I got so close on it. I got like super close, and then it didn't happen. But it was a really cool experience. And again, it was one of those things where um I would think traditionally this character 15 years ago would have gone to somebody who was just Caucasian, like it wouldn't even be anyone else. And so the fact that they'll open it up and this kind of character is now anything, is amazing
Did
to
you
do.
find out who you lost it to?
No, but I'm sure it was someone really good, because it's a very good cast, and it's a very I see you can see most of it, but you can't
Yeah,
see
yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
So until it airs, I won't know.
Understood. No, understood. Understood. It's so lovely to get to talk to you. And, you're a very unusual kind of actor. And I love hearing about how you do what you do because you do it so well.
Thank you very much.
Of
Thank you
course.
for
It's my
having me.
pleasure. Have a wonderful day. I hope your voice comes back and I look forward to talking again sometime.
All right. Thank you. Have a
Thank you,
great
Carla.
day.
Have a good one. Bye.